Hello and welcome to another video from In3D Software. Today we're going to look at creating an unusual cabinet. This time the door is actually going to be a flap that's hinged from the top to create a type of chest, I guess, or maybe a window seat with some integrated storage, something that's a little bit more unusual than your typical Carcass with a door hung off the front. So what I'm going to do is start Article Designer, but this time I'm going to create an article from the side rather than from the top. And I'm going to type in my overall sizes. So the height is going to be, for this particular product, 650 millimeters with a width of 1200 and a depth of 670 mil. Okay, so this is giving me my overall size now, and I'm just going to switch into realistic view. And what this allows me to do now is just add in these parts. So the first thing I need in this case is a bottom, left and a right, and I want to have a plinth in here, so I'm going to go up to the very top and activate base construction, and then in here drop in a plinth. So I'm going to choose this one here, which is a front inset of 20, front and back, so it's going to give me two pieces, and I'm then going to inset this, so my side panels are going to run all the way down to the bottom. I then need a back panel, so in here I want to choose a back panel that's 18 millimeters as well to match my rest of my parts, and I'm going to run that back panel down. So I'm just going to say that that trim there should be long to that, and then I'm going to choose my bottom shelf and say that that should be short. There we go. Then I want to add on a decorative front. So instead of a door, this is actually going to be classed as a filler panel. So I've got a filler panel here that's matching the same front definitions. So it's going to be dropped all the way around, and it's going to be connected with a Carcass connector in here. Let's just look at our design by clicking on the tick. So we've now got our box or our chest, and I've got my decorative material across the front here, which is a wood grain, but the rest of my Carcass is using a white material. So let's just make that change now. I'm going to go to the order or the job related variables, and then in here go to basic data, and then the materials for my base or my plinth, my kicker. I want this to use the same material as my front. In my fronts, I'm going to tell it to actually use a dark grey material, and I'm actually going to use that for the Carcass material as well. So let's go to Carcass and drop that into here. I'll click apply, and that's going to then make everything out of the same material. Okay, so the next thing then is to work out this top configuration. Now the top is going to be split into two sections. I'm going to have a back rail, and then I'm going to have my top flap hung off that as well. So the first thing I want to do is modify my product. I'm going to then go to my dividers, and I'm going to say that I want a virtual division dividing the depth 100 millimeters from the back to one gap. So I now have two zones. In the main zone in here, I'm going to open that up and again go to my dividers, and I'm going to then set this again to be a virtual split 1 to 100 millimeters from the top to give me an upper zone. And then in this area here, I can then add in my back. Now I'm going to change this back to be a shelf, which will give me my Carcass material, so it's the same thickness in here, and that will then give me connections left and right as well, which is what I want. And then I want to add in my door here, so I'm going to change the top from being a shelf to being a door, and then I have a flap set up here, which is a single door onset flap hinge connection. And what I've done is told it to then hinge off the top or the bottom if I wanted it to be hinged on this side rather than it being hinged left or right. Now that I've got these, what I can do is go to the rear section in here and simply add in my top and use the same part as a door as this front here because I want it to match my door material. So in here I'll just choose this filler panel material. So that now gives me all of my parts, and then when I click tick, you can see this is the configuration that I have. And if I go into a wireframe view, it's brought through the fittings to make this sort of chest box area here. It's only got the 2 hinges on, but if I wanted to alter that hinge, maybe change the spacing or the quantity, what I can do is just select that part and then change the spacing in here. So maybe my hinge is 100 millimeters to 121 to 1 to 100 millimeters, which is going to give me that 3rd hinge and space my hinges in 100 millimeters left and right. So this is how you can make a chest with a top hung flap rather than it being hung just off the sides. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.